Looks like we don't just have hollow-eyed stock predictions. Today, we're up 7% on CTM or Castellum Inc. And could BigBear.AI be next? Let's take a look at it. Today, we see it dip another 2.8% today. Got a small position there on BigBear that is outside of the long-term position on Schwab, similar to how we trade most stocks. Our long-term portfolio keep a little bit separate from our short-term portfolio. BigBear.AI, there's three things to note in its recent moves. Today, it pushed up at market open here. You can see that initial push to about $3.95 and then sold down. We were watching it at the support level. We were potentially going to enter, and we said, it seems like that $3.80 price point is a pretty strong support. And if it doesn't hold there, it's most likely looking bullish or bearish throughout the day. And so at 6:30 a.m., we saw it kind of bounce, push up, but ended up sinking below that support. We see it down to 370 at about 10:45 with about an hour and 15 left in the market. And then by the end of market today, it closed out at $3.79. So overall, couple patterns to kind of look at. You got this level at which it's been bouncing here at that $3.70, $3.80 range pretty aggressively there. And you can see if it's going to make this swing up into these levels, we're kind of watching this potential consolidation take place where possibly if it holds tomorrow morning above this $3.60, or even we know there's a support at 350, this is the swing up into these levels, about an 18% swing we'll be watching for. It's made that move a couple times in the past week, 2 weeks really, and we're looking for that move potentially at market open tomorrow. Now, when it comes to BigBear, outside of the financials or the chart, you also have their financials looking quite interesting. They've been consolidating around this $3.50 price point. But part of the thing that we watch when it comes to AI stocks, and especially with BigBear.AI, is the institutional holdings. One thing to note, BigBear, we had some comments this morning. They said, with that type of volume, there's no way there's not manipulation. And, it's possible. Look at it. I mean, 76 million in volume there. I mean, that's right up there with, it was above AMDL. It was above even Taiwan Semiconductor. And it was really kind of similar to what you would see with, some of the quantum stocks that are doing really hot around this time. So to see that 76 million in volume today, not something that we always see with BigBear. And that just means there's more institutional interest. So what you have here, overall increased positions according to our last active measure of BigBear. And when it comes to like our daily live session this morning, we were talking about the volume and we were trading AMDL, which I think that position's doing good as well today. We could see that about 98%, not 98, $98 profit. So we just wrapped up that trade this morning. We're still kind of watching it, see if it makes that 5% swing. And we are also looking at this news of BigBear getting more institutional interest in the volume spike. So you got BlackRock, Vanguard really paying attention to it closely. But when we look at the chart, this is where we kind of start to ask questions about, can we see this next swing take place? If there's one company that's seeing more momentum than any other company in AI defense, and I think it would probably go to, with the exception of Palantir doing what it does and rallying, but also just defying odds as it surges up to $132. The company that's in AI, more techie, I would say, as far as their focus on borders and travel and trade, is BigBear. And so when they pulled down to this previous level, you got this previous resistance right there at 370. You have the move that it's potentially bouncing here, which is about an 18% swing. But when we're looking at the technicals, one thing to consider, there's this overall arching trend where we had this uptrend for the past few months, right? So you go back to April, or really, beginning of April, and you have this uptrend, very consistent, and it recently kind of broke trend, started consolidating from left to right, which is fine, and it's holding that level today. However, what we're looking at now is a break in that overall uptrend, which could mean just a little bit of a lag before we see it continue its overall direction up into that $5 range, but could also mean that we start to see this happen. Now, what I would imagine is that we start to see it break and potentially validate this support at 370. That's what I'm looking for at market open. This little position we have here doesn't, it's down, but it was more of a, we didn't sell all of our shares when we sold our last trade, when we went from 370 up to that $4.26 trade, and we left open some shares there that we had got in, and that's fine. But aside from that recovery potential, if it's holding at this $3.75 range and we're looking for that swing up to $4.42, it's got to break back above about 385. So we're looking for this push back up above the moving average, getting back up into these $4 ranges before doing a full swing up to 450. I was just talking with one of our stock mates on the phone earlier today. He's telling me, I'm looking at options, I'm looking at AI, I'm looking at quantum. I'm still figuring it out. I'm getting my trades in, but sometimes I'm just trading to trade. I don't really always know exactly what I'm doing. And I have my long-term positions, which I'm confident with, but I like to do more of the short-term, maybe medium-term investing. And I told him, well, yeah, that's great. What seems to be working? He's like, well, I'm kind of buying and I'm just kind of seeing what happens. And that's the number one thing that most traders will do, and it's what separates 95% from 5%. I don't share with you guys here to tell you it's a buy or that it's going to go up. In fact, I don't know. But what we do know is if it holds this support, we could enter here with a stop around about $3.65, somewhere in here tomorrow morning if it's at that level and it's holding, and then look for that swing up into this previous resistance of about $4.30 or higher on the near term and manage risk there around 1%. And we're looking at a 10 to 15%, 15 to 20% margin there in a trade. So we'll see if that's the type of move we get to potentially see happen. Otherwise, there is that level at which it's getting rejected, that it's this declining trend from the end of May from $4.80 getting rejected at $4.20 and then rejected at $4 and then now pushing back up potentially to get rejected at $3.85. So that's why we're going to watch not just this support at $3.65, but that it can possibly shoot back up into these levels of that $3.85, and then that's when we could potentially pull the trigger. I will most likely be watching it closely tomorrow morning for a 12 to 15% swing. We'll see how it goes. Now, outside of BigBear.AI, there's also some really interesting news when it comes to the defense sector and what's really going on with some of their contracts. One of the things that's been happening is there's less and less Department of Defense contracts, according to some sources, that we are seeing now less contracts than normal with the current the current administration for defense, which is interesting because you would say that would be something, we're Republican Party at the moment and we're going to see more double down on defense. But that hasn't been the case. There's been some reports that there's been less Department of Defense contracts that are being issued. And what we have happened here with BigBear, a couple things. While they went down 2%, they did have some news come out today that they joined forces with Analogic to transform airport threat detection. So we're familiar with BigBear's partnerships they got with the Department of Defense already. They have the Homeland Security and Border Protection, the Pentagon, and some of those contracts in the hundreds of millions of dollars. That's why they're right there around $1 billion valuation. And when it comes to the potential, if they continue to build those market caps, the financials continue to get some momentum, then more than likely we would get an opportunity here to see BigBear make that market cap run up into that $2 billion to $3 billion mark. They've been holding at $1 billion, but what's going to be the tipping point? It's going to be more contracts in airports that are those facial scanning recognition software that we are seeing happen right now. And That's exactly the news that they kind of came out with here today. So as you can see, BigBear.AI, leading provider of AI-powered decision intelligence solutions for national security, just announced that they have a collaboration with Analogic, a global innovator in aviation security systems. Companies have integrated BigBear.AI's advanced computer vision screening capabilities with Analogic's cutting-edge computed tomograph CT scanner technology to enhance threat detection and streamline airport security operations worldwide. At the heart of the collaboration is BigBear.AI's Pangiam threat detection and decision support platform, formerly known as Project Dartmouth, which supports airport security teams with real-time AI-driven threat detection insights. The threat detection's open architecture design allows integration with third-party hardware, software, and algorithms to provide flexibility and expand capabilities across airport security. In other words, what they're looking at here is a very simple integration with other airport securities and aviation security companies, in this case it's Analogic, to streamline the threat detection. So they have their BigBear scanner potentially right at the different ports or the different airline entry and exits, and they scan the face, and basically rather than having someone go do the look of travel records or different potential threats from any people that are going in and out of those ports, basically the whole system does that for you, and it uses AI to potentially look for threats that could be posed to the safety of others at the airport. So it's pretty streamlined, and it seems that they got a new it's not a contract, but it's a partnership. But if you look at their stock, it did not react positively to that announcement today. In fact, we saw it sell off despite that announcement. Not really enough to push the stock in any which direction. We saw it sell off along with a good amount of AI stocks, but overall SPY holding positive, CTM going for its 8% run, and TSLA making a recovery, as well as Taiwan Semiconductor. I just got an email earlier today from Patrick Ryle. He's one of our StockMate members. He was watching one of our trades on, I think it was SOXS. Was it SOXL? I think it was. And he was watching it, and he said, Will, I bought in on SOXL when we were having our live trading, and I don't really know, what the whole plan was with it, but I've doubled my money, he said. So good shout out and kudos to Patrick on investing in the semiconductors. The biggest markets we're watching right now are going to be quantum, AI, going to watch semiconductors, as well as a little bit of robotics, as well as some space tech. Really excited with what's going on there. Even a little bit of nuclear in there as well. But primarily AI are the focus. That's why we're covering BigBear.AI here. If you guys would like more content like that, make sure to subscribe. If you want to watch me trade live every day at Market Open, it's the second link in the description. We just hit 20K subscribers. Thanks so much. Appreciate you all. It seems like we're growing very fast, and we're on the road to 100K subscribers, which is super amazing. Appreciate you all. And on top of that, if you'd like a free mug, which we just put together, I think it's right here. It's our StockMate mug. It's got a trading plan with risk management and some rules on it. You get it for free along with the t-shirt when you enroll in StockMate if you'd like to join us in our session tomorrow. Hopefully I earned your thumbs up. Make sure to hit that like button. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.